let's give it up for Jim and Eric. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So we're going to have a good 45 to 55 minutes, and there'll be some Q&A. It's going to be a really interesting, it's always interesting chatting with you, Eric. You know, this is our third time doing this. First time as a public company. Here, to grab your, yeah, right, fourth time. But first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here and share some of your wisdom with us. And congrats on bringing such a great product to the world and that people just love. And a huge congrats on the incredible IPO, which we're going to get to, for sure. But I want to start at the beginning. So we are going to start with your immigrant story, which I think is going to be really relevant for folks here. Before we do that, I do want to ask the audience real quick, how many people use Zoom? Yeah, amazing. Amazing.
Well, that's why I come here. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just like in the US, Israelis love Zoom. It really changed lives. But before we get into your background, though, I just want to show this picture. And I want you to tell a little bit about this story about the Technion and how Zoom and you are related to the Technion.
Shalom, likulam, v'shana tova. Anilu made Iberit. So, my Hebrew teacher, he's our chief product officer. Oded, he's here. So, and it's great. Yeah. Anyway, so I started a company 8 years ago. And when you build a company, you really want to work together with those people you trust, right? And our chief product officer, Oded Gale, he and I worked together for many, many years when we were at WebEx, and he's an alumni from Technion, right, Oded? And we also have many, many friends also who graduated from Technion. I know that's the best university in Israel, right? And the president, he's awesome. And with that, actually, we really focus on education, you know, because when we build a Zoom, our goal is to make the world a much better place. And many of my friends told me that, right? So that's why I think, you know, we have a partnership with Technion. We give them a free access of Zoom. And I think that's a great sponsorship, really help us as well. Because the president, you know, he shared a lot of wisdom with us. So I really appreciate, especially a lot of Technion alumni will join Zoom. So thank you. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. How many people here are connected to Technion or went to Technion? Yes, it's great.
Yeah, we have a position for all of you, okay?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Zoom is hiring. We'll get to that too, but I'm glad you put that plug in early. So now let's go back and let's start at the beginning. Tell us about your background. And, you know, I think the story is out there. Maybe many of you have heard, but it'd be interesting to share, like, you know, the difficulties you had in getting into the U.S. and the visa challenges, and maybe sharing some wisdom of how you finally were able to overcome that, get here. And then one thing you don't talk a lot about, but I think also might be interesting and relevant for this audience is, you know, English is a second language. You know, how is that potentially, have you experienced any bias in Silicon Valley around that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so a little bit of story about myself. So I was born in China, and I was born in Shandong province. Actually, English is my third language. Because I speak Mandarin, I have a heavy accent. I was born in Shandong province. And I went to Japan in 1994. And for 4 months training. And I remember Bill Gates was there once for a keynote speech. He talked about the internet. I was so inspired by his speech. So I thought about that. I should devote myself to internet. When I back to China as 1995, I really want to start an internet company because it was too early. I wanted to start a company to sell books online because I have a publishing house industry. But it was too early. I cannot figure out a way how to charge users, how to deliver the books. So that's why I wanted to come to Silicon Valley to take a look. And I tried to get my short-term, like a business visa, but you know, I cannot get a visa. And it's a little bit of cultural misunderstanding. So, and because I gave them a business card, which is a computer consultant. He told me that, you know, I'm not honest. Consultant does not mean you work for the company for full-time. So that's a cultural misunderstanding. But anyway, so I got a decline. For the first time, I tried multiple times, it declined again and again. Finally, I had to change to the working visa, which is H1 working visa. I joined WebEx as one of the first several founding engineers, and later on, I became a VP engineer. So I stuck in the real-time collaboration since 1997. It's good news, actually, I did not give up. Otherwise, probably, I do not know what I'm doing now. So.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that's a constant theme of the success of Zoom and of your success is you don't give up. You had a vision and you wanted to see that through. It was getting here, getting involved in this.
I appreciate for that visa officer. Essentially, he was working hard to practice my perseverance, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is good.
Yes, that's right. We often learn a lot from our failures. So tell us about WebEx. I mean, that was quite a success story. And growing the company and then selling to Cisco. And then how do we go from WebEx and managing a team to becoming a founder and starting Zoom?
So how many of you are still using WebEx?
Very few people. That's
wow,
really awesome.
I'll give you a Zoom VIP account, okay, after this. So you are the only one. So anyway, so I came to the Valley in 1987, and WebEx was very, very small. Only 10 people, 10 engineers, 2 co-founders. I joined WebEx, and we were very lucky. We went public year 2000, and then we sold the company to Cisco. And after that, I became Cisco's vice president of engineering, managing Cisco's collaboration software development. And I was working so hard to try to improve WebEx experience. However, after 13 years or 14 years of hard work, the year before I left Cisco, every time when I talked with the WebEx customer, I did not see a single happy customer. Oded also was there. He knew that. I even did not want to go to office. I was not happy. So I was trying to fix that problem within Cisco, but Cisco was unwilling to change. Cisco is a great company, but however, the strategy was wrong. So finally, I decided to leave, to build a new solution to bring happiness back to customers. Even if my background is engineer, so in Silicon Valley, you have so many successful people, so many successful entrepreneurs, leaders like Jim always give me advice. That's why from transition from VP engineer to CEO, I think is relatively smooth. And whenever I need any help, I just call off my advisors, my friends. So that's I think a beautiful part of Silicon Valley. So everybody they want to help. Yeah. And
there's an interesting connection for me and Maven personally with Cisco WebEx, because my cousin Dan Scheinman was working at Cisco, involved in the acquisition, and he is one of maybe the most successful super angel investor.
He's my first investor.
And your first investor.
Yeah.
We were co-investors in another company in the video space, and made the intro to you and Bill Tai as well. And so I'm forever grateful to Dan, who's gone on to have an incredible career, not only at Cisco, but also investing. So, without that connection, but for that. And, it was so amazing working with you. I remember the first office was, it was 5 people and Nick, and we were working on the product.
No, 6 people.
6
no,
people, yeah. Okay, sorry, it was huge. So, I'd say it was incredible to see just how focused you were, even then, on building a great product. How do you continue that and scale it as the company continues to scale?
Yeah, so we were very small, right? To build a product that might fit very well to the product is relatively easy. However, as you further grow the business, how to make sure your company, have the culture, to always focus on the product experience and the customer experience, that's not that easy. That's why on day one, we focus on the company culture. Our company culture is to deliver happiness. For me, as a CEO, my #1 job is to make sure our employees are happy. And together, all of our employees, they will make our customer happy. So every day, when we make a decision, we always think about, will this decision make our customer happy or not? So that's the key. And because of that, because of the culture, I think even today we have more than 2,000 employees. I think we're still relatively okay in terms of maintaining our company culture. Every time, try to make sure, try to make a decision, only look at it from a customer perspective. We are not going to add so many things just good for us, not good for our customers.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the company culture, because from day one, that was a part of it, and I saw it scale. I don't know if you're still doing this, but you used to give out the Tony Hsieh Delivering Happiness book to all employees, right?
And we still do that today.
We still do that today. It's awesome. And so, in fact, I remember recently you were being interviewed with Jim Cramer.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome, right. And you look like you're having a lot of fun. And he was asking, like, what are the metrics? What are you focused on? And you just kept coming back to, we're just keeping our customers happy, right? And how does that play on we'll get to this a little bit later, but on the public company side, when you're talking to folks like Jim Cramer, do they get it? I mean, they understand just how important that is to the success of the product?
They do. Actually, the formula is very simple. So you work so hard to build a much better product, and you deliver to the customer every day. You care about the customer. If the customer really like your product, very likely they're going to pay, right? If they pay for your service, I think you can survive. And then you can keep working hard, keep making customer happy. I think that's a very positive loop. If a customer, they are not happy, especially for software as a service, so anytime they can cancel, right? If they cancel your service, you have a huge problem. That's why our number one priority is to do all we can make sure customer happy. In early stage, I remember that's many years ago, at that time, our monthly subscription fee is only $9.95, less than $10 a month. Even for some customers who canceled just for one account, I personally sent an email to ask them why they canceled. I also have a call with them to really understand what we can do differently, what we can do to deliver happiness to you, what can we do to make sure you stay with Zoom. Right? We did so many things. The goal is to make sure every user happy.
And I think that's still today. I mean, you just hear from so many people who use the product. It just works, right? I mean, and that to them is delivering happiness.
If it does not work, this is Odette's fault. So.
Right. Yeah. You have any issues, you talk to Odette after. And the last bit on the early side of stuff, when we were working together, a couple of things you had asked me to help on. One is we were talking about the name of the company.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a lot of fun to try and help you think about what we could call this product as it was just starting, because we had to think of a word that could become a verb and that would sort of fit for what you were building. And I gave you 3 choices, and you chose well.
No, you give me 4 choices actually. Anyway, that's I learned a hard lesson. So, I have a very good product engineer background. When you start a company, you got to understand, which part you are pretty good at it. Right? Which part you needed to leverage others' help. Back then I tried to save the money. I said I can do everything, and it took us 6 months. We still cannot figure out a name. It's every day we spend time getting a new name, either domain not available, or I like that name, or others mentioned that name is terrible. So, and 2 months before we launched the product, we still do not have a company name. I think over the weekend I called Jim. Jim, I'm stuck now. I need a name, and he's very good. Give me 4 names. I still remember that. Zoom, Zippo, Hangtime, and Zippo, Hangtime.
I remember the last one. Poppy.
Poppy, exactly. I made the right decision. Zoom, much better, right? So.
Yeah, that was a good choice. Yeah. I like that was my favorite too. So the other 3 weren't so good, but I wanted to give it to you. And we were also focused on something that I think you still do incredibly well today. We were talking a lot about viral marketing strategies back then, and organic growth was really important in the early days, right? Because fundraising was pretty challenging. We're going to get to that next. So it's amazing that, I don't know if you share the numbers, but there's still a large percentage of customers today on Zoom that are free Zoom customers that get that 40-minute, when it gets close to 40 minutes, we put in that little ticker saying you can upgrade for a very small fee, and I think that's converted very well. Yep. And that's an important strategy still today. Yeah,
it is. So when we introduce the service to the market, we have a pure freemium model, so meaning one-to-one meetings always free. We give you all the features. When it comes to group video conferencing, we also give you most of the features for free, but we limit to the meeting duration to 40 minutes. Because I built WebEx before, right? We know the most effective meeting is 45 minutes. So that model works so well even today. That's why we have so many free users, and we do not spend a lot of money on marketing side. We already got lots of incoming leads.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to remember now because you go to an airport, you see the Zoom beautiful billboards. You see them all over the freeways and at
we should have one here, actually.
There should be one here, right? We should put the Zoom. But but in the beginning, we didn't have the capital for that, so it had to be clever. And those strategies worked so well then, and they still work today, even with a massive enterprise company. So let's talk about the fundraising. I remember making a lot of intros to Series A and Series B investors up and down Sandhill. Do you remember, and the response wasn't necessarily like, oh, this is definitely great. I mean, it was really more like, didn't Skype and WebEx already win? So a lot of people say today, like, how did you, Maven, have the vision to, invest in a company where everyone else thought this has already been won? And I said, first of all, you had to get to know Eric and the team. I mean, you guys were not going to lose. But there were some other insights that we had from you, like mobile was going to change everything from a technology standpoint. Cloud computing was changing. And you knew you could build a better product. And they didn't see it until they actually saw traction by the Series D, right? So how did you personally deal with so many no's, and then how did you raise money?
Yeah, you're right. I think I knew back then my team can really build much better products. However, most of the VCs, they don't trust what I said, except for my friends like Jim. Actually, that's just great. And the reason why is the market was so crowded, and everybody told me that you cannot put it off, right? Because the market is so crowded, and why you think you can build a much better product? However, I knew that because I spent all the time talking with the customers. I know all those customers, they told me that. All the product they were using back then, all other product really suck, right? Do not work. And because of that, I understand if we can build a much better product, can delight the customers, we have a chance to survive. So that's the reason why, I convinced my friends, actually, essentially, when my friends like Jim, invested in me, I even did not give them a slide deck. Most of the, friends just told me that, hey, Eric, we trust you, just go ahead, to build your product. And we did spend time trying to raise the money. However, I think none of those VCs, they wanted to invest. Looking back, that's a painful experience. But however, I think, quite often a lot of startup companies, they also had the same experience. And this kind of experience is not bad looking back. Because I remember, I do not want to mention the name, I left that VC office and I back to my office. I changed my, at that time I was using Windows, desktop. I changed the, the screensaver to "You are wrong." So, and try to remind me, I'm trying to prove they are wrong. So.
Right, it's like a little chip on the shoulder. I mean, use it as motivation to show them that they were wrong. And in a beautiful way, I don't think this is disclosing anything that, Sequoia was one of the firms that's, I made an intro in the Series A. They actually liked you a lot. They liked the story. They just couldn't see potential of a billion-dollar company. And they ended up actually leading the Series D round, which you didn't necessarily need the capital. You wanted to get Sequoia involved. And I would not give them credit for staying in touch, following up, realizing they made a mistake, and getting to invest in that last round, which is going to pay off for them in a very significant way.
Yeah, Sequoia is a great firm. In terms of Sequoia, I don't think that's their mistake. Because when we pitched Sequoia, remember in the A round or seed round, at that time we talk about consumer, stuff, right? Was not about the enterprise business. I think, looking back, I think they made the right decision, right, to lead the Series D. I think in Silicon Valley, there's so many VCs, so many great VCs. How to find those VCs who really want to bet on you, not only on your business. That's very, very important. Because the business could be up, could be down, and what if you did not do well, right? They are not going to support you anymore. The good news is that we spend a lot of time, funding so many VCs who really, trust not only our business but also myself as well. As looking back, we were very lucky. Yeah.
And I think your other Horizon and Emergence, Santi, they were
great. Yeah.
They were great investors and very helpful. Okay, so now let's move to obviously.
By the way, if you are in the middle of raising the money, Jim just got a 60 million new fund. So he is a great investor. So
thank you very much, Eric. I very appreciate that. By the way, I should mention we do mostly consumer software, which is one of the reasons why we were focusing on the consumer. And I remember, I think there was one day you were like, we realized people were calling and emailing you and saying, if you would launch these features, we'll pay you a lot of money and we'll get rid of WebEx. And we said, that's a great business model. We should just focus on enterprise. So some of our companies end up pivoting to enterprise, but our sweet spot is really helping on a lot of the consumer stuff early. But now. Incredible IPO. Let's talk about, first of all, there was some great stuff that happened, I think for the first time ever, through Zoom in the whole process, like the roadshow, and you were, pitching through Zoom. I don't think you left the office, if I'm right. And then the actual IPO, the whole company was there in New York on the big screen through Zoom. Is amazing. Why don't you describe some of that? Yeah,
so 5 years ago, I made it a commitment, to my team, to my family as well. I've only traveled twice a year. I mean, business travels at most twice a year. So that's why I did not want to go to travel any other places. When it comes to IPO, roadshow, right? Almost every company needs to go to New York or Boston, right, for the IPO roadshow. I told them I cannot because I already traveled twice. So, and can I zoom in? And their initial reaction is, no, you have to come here. But later on, they are okay. I was very stubborn. But anyway, so finally, everybody liked that experience. And guess what? Some of those, investors also became our customer. So after the, the IPO roadshow, I think looking back, that's a great experience. And really, showcase our product. And also saved me a lot of time, so.
And then during I think your first, was it Q1, when you reported the numbers, we had everyone come in through Zoom.
Yes,
right? It was the first time ever, right?
Yeah, among all those more than 4,000 public companies here, we are the first company who did the earning call via video. We use the Zoom video webinar, so that's an awesome experience. Yeah.
It was amazing, and it worked seamlessly. It was amazing.
Yeah. Any of you also, whoever wants to do that, please let me know. We'll give you a free Zoom webinar access. So. It's just a great experience, seriously.
It really is. Yeah. And they all loved it. They actually commented on the call, like what a much more engaging experience it was. And that's a big part of the whole product, right? Building trust and engagement.
Yep.
So now you're a public company, and it's been an incredible IP. Like, first of all, I kind of know the answers, but did you see this coming? I mean, that was quite a number. I think we all believe this company is worth what it is today and it's going to be worth a lot more. But to jump that quickly that first day, I think it kind of caught everyone by a little surprise. And how do you manage that? I think you've managed it very well, but how have you been managing it? And how has it affected the employees? I mean, I'm sure people are checking the stock price daily. What do you do? How do you
I did check the stock price as well for the first 2 weeks. The good news, I do not write a code anymore. Otherwise, it could be very buggy. So anyway, so it's hard to control, right? It's kind of out of our control, right? So we really do not focus on stock price. We try to do all we can. For me, make sure employee happy, customer happy, and keep delivering more and more innovations. I think we'll be okay. However, I think really appreciate for all those shareholders' support. It looks like price-wise is pretty good, and it's much better than we thought before we went public. Yeah.
And is there, when you have your team meetings, and is this discussed at all?
Not that much anymore.
People just focused on.
Yeah, to be a public company or IPO, just a small milestone. My good friend, he's a co-founder of and the CEO of Okata, Frederick. He told me that, to reach IPO is more like a high school graduation ceremony. You do not want to pick your performance in high school, right? So, and just small milestone. So
that makes sense. I mean, there are definitely some changes. Like, for example, I think this is the first time I've seen you in a suit at an event like this. Usually, you'd be wearing this, right? The Zoom shirt. So, I mean, I don't know if that's the public CEO image, which is great. But have there been any other concrete changes in the way that you're thinking about the company, conducting business? I mean, I know that you're growing the team very aggressively, right? You're hiring a lot, doing a lot.
I think very little has changed, except for we do have many incoming large enterprise leads, right? Because we become a public company, the sales cycle for large enterprise customers is getting much better. And like last quarter, we closed a very big account, which is HSBC. 290,000 hosts account, right? Before, thank you, appreciate, So he's using WebEx, that's why, So thank you. Yeah, so after we became a public company, I think the market, the branding, perception is much better, and otherwise you really cannot get so many very large, big deals. Yeah.
And how do you think about keeping your product and engineering teams so well aligned? I mean, that's something that you've done so well from the beginning. Now that the sales team is growing, the marketing team is growing, is that putting any pressure on that, or is that still working really well?
It's still working really well, actually. I understand the code very well. All data knows that, right? As no engineers can tell me this is one day work. They will tell me 1 week. I would know that, right? Because I still can review the code. So, and I think we have a very flat management structure. I think we won't have a chief product officer, chief financial officer, and a head of a department. That's it. All others just either individual contributors or managers. Very, very flat. Because of that, I think in terms of decision-making process, in terms of all those very tough the issues, we always can quickly make a decision. Because when it comes to startup, the speed is everything. If you multiple layers, I think you're going to lose the speed.
Yeah, and I think if I'm correct, you have your office, your open space is right with the product team, right?
Yes, Odette and I, we share the same cube, right? Next to each other, and he can teach me Hebrew every day. So.
And you could teach him coding.
Yep. No, he's not good at the coding. He's good at the product. So.
Good at product. So is there any pressure on the happiness culture? And how do you think about going from 2,000 to 10,000 to 20,000 employees and keeping this amazing culture? Because I don't know if people know, you're #1 CEO on Glassdoor, #2 overall happy place to work on Glassdoor. I mean, these are some of the reasons why the company is so successful. Do you ever get worried about this, or it's like, no, we'll just keep doing what we're doing, it's not going to break as we grow?
Yeah, I do actually. If I started a company like 20 years ago, I really had no idea about what's the company culture, why do you need to deliver happiness. Because when I started the company, back in 2011, I was already 41 years old. I learned a lot. I really understand the purpose of life. Right? When I was young, I always, had a question, what's the purpose of life? I had no idea. But along the way, I understand the purpose of life is to pursue happiness. But what kind of happiness is sustainable? If you can make others happy, you'll be happy. That happiness is sustainable. We really understand that. That's why happiness culture is the number one important thing. When we have less than 500 employees, it's relatively easy. For now, when we have more than 2,000 employees, that's only one thing that keeps them up in the night. Quite often, we have a zero tolerance to sexual harassment or integrity issues. But no matter how we talk about that, every quarter we still need to terminate some employees who violated our policy. And that's why the company culture is really important.
Yeah, and I was actually really struck by the diversity of the executive team. And I'm wondering, at the IPO, when I was here in New York with you, you had was 2 senior executives, CFO and head of marketing, are women. Do you think about diversity? Do you think about gender diversity? I mean, is this conscious at Zoom?
Absolutely. This is very, very important because you have a group of if you have a group of people with different diversified background, male, female, and with different culture, I think that's why you have, that's where the innovation, is coming from. Otherwise, you have the same background. I think quite often you are going to, when you try to make a decision, nobody will look at the other angles, right? Because we have a CFO, and also a partner, chief legal officer, and also quite often when we try to make a decision, everybody will share, with us about, hey, the decision, from different perspective. Because of that, we can collectively make the best decision. Otherwise, just very risky, right? It's just, without diversified the team.
Yeah, it really strikes me like you have a high, emotional intelligence, EQ. And I think I look at a lot of early stage founders, and it's hard to find that. People who really think deeply about these issues that just don't seem that important. But you always did from day one, and I think that's how cultures are built. We try to do that with all of our teams early on. It could be 2 founders and an idea, and we talk to them about start building the right culture. You already have a culture, right? It's how you want to run this business, but be thoughtful about it.
Yeah, I learned a very hard way actually, and later on I figured out sort of like a formula. So every day, before I sleep, I did carve out like 15 minutes of time in my calendar. I call that a thinking meditation. I always think about if I start over today, what I'm going to do differently. So because of that, every time you make a mistake, and you can quickly learn from that. You know where you should get the help. Because of that, many years of effort, I think finally you will understand, right? So you want to build the right team, focus on company culture, focus on employee happiness, make sure customer happy. So when I was, even 10 years ago, if you ask me if I start a company to focus on company culture, I would say, why? So, yeah.
That's actually really great advice. I think that's going to be very helpful. I'm going to encourage all the Maven founders to start doing that as well. So let's talk a little bit about the future. There's some exciting new products coming out. There's a big focus on the Zoom phone. Zoom rooms are crushing it. What can you talk about? Anything that is coming out soon? And one in particular I want to mention, because we're involved a bit with Maven, is the Zoom Marketplace and the new App Store. Yep. So if you can chat a little bit about that.
So next month, October 15th and 16th, we have our 3rd annual user conference, Zoomtopia. I welcome all of you to join. Odetta will give you a VIP, account, okay?
But it's a great conference, and the concerts after. Who do you have? Snoop Dogg?
Yeah.
And Leonard Skinner. I mean, this is amazing. You're right there. It's like 5. How many people now? It's probably a couple thousand.
I think probably around 3,000 people.
Yeah, 1,000. Yeah, it's great. I mean, you're right up front of the stage. It's amazing. Yeah. Plus the content is great too.
Yeah, a lot of new feature enhancement, and a lot of
So what can you tell us now about? So let's talk about the Zoom Marketplace and
so Marketplace is very important because when you build a software as a service, for the first several years, you try to make your service as a killer app. So after that, naturally your next step is to build a platform to make sure the third-party developers or partners, they can build an application upon your platform. With that, you can build a very healthy ecosystem. As a great example is Salesforce, right? For the first several years, they were just focusing on the CRM application, but later on they have an exchange platform. This is a great ecosystem. I think this is our time now. Last Zoomtopia, we announced the Zoom Marketplace. We are going to double down on that to give our third-party developers more and more API and also a lot of software component, right, to let them build all kinds of applications upon our platform.
And there's going to be a big announcement at Zoomtopia about this. I think how many developers are there about? It's a large number. There's a lot of developers.
Around 1,000.
Yeah, how many?
Around 1,000.
1,000, right?
Yeah.
And we want to grow that number to be
10,000.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah.
And the idea is that potentially, like in other marketplaces, whether it's the app stores, the iPhone App Store or Google App Store or Salesforce, that billion-dollar businesses can be built on top of the Zoom product.
Yeah, we are not there yet, so we just started.
Starting.
Yeah, if you want to build any application upon our platform, that'd be great. So.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be some incentives to start developing for it. How do you, and do you think about, there are some things that are going to be core to Zoom and other things that developers can build, that aren't core to Zoom?
Yeah, like some telemedicine app, right? So like a healthcare applications or online education. Normally, we do not focus on vertical market, and with that, a lot of startup companies, they can build all kinds of vertical applications upon our platform.
Yeah, I mean, there's amazing stuff already happening. Zoom had, someone mentioned to me actually here at the conference, how they're using Zoom to help sell their product. I'm sure that they in a really integrated way. Someone who I know from back east told me that it's really amazing, and this is one of the things when we started Zoom we thought could happen. They're going to group therapy through Zoom, right? So someone should build a product to service that market. That could be $1 billion company right there. There's something that's happening on Zoom that I love using. I don't know if you guys use this, but the virtual background is amazing. Is everyone using that? Yeah. If not, yeah, it's incredible. Like I think that literally just that little product could be a potential massive company, right? Imagine if you had branded virtual backgrounds with sports teams or your favorite, athletes doing stuff behind you as you're talking or whatever. This could be a really integrated, amazing product feature for Zoom with the marketplace.
Absolutely. I use it for every meeting. I still remember in the IP Roadshow. And it's very early on, right? It's, very early in the morning. It's 5 o'clock here, because the East Coast order 8 o'clock. I always use the Fiji Island as my virtual background. Other people in the East Coast look at me. Why you are taking the vacation? Why you do not come here?
And I think it wasn't an accidental feature, but it was something that it wasn't necessarily planned, but I think there were some customers, maybe it was Uber, said, they started doing it. And
it's not from Uber. I remember that's from one of the, I think is early individual users, and she's using Zoom a lot. However, she's using Zoom at home, and quite often she told me that, hey, sometimes, I don't want to, show my kitchen, right? Can you do something, to have a virtual background? And that's what she told us, I think almost 5 years ago.
Yeah. And a feature, so this is again showing how keeping customers happy can lead to something amazing. So you built this feature for her, but obviously, imagine sales teams people are on the road all the time. Yeah. They can use their iPhone, put a virtual background that looks like their office.
Yeah, that's very dangerous. Quite often they told you they are in the office, they are not. Actually.
They're not. That's right. They'll have the call, then they'll go play their round of golf, and then they'll go back in the office, right? And so, but let's talk about that as one of the trends. I mean, the whole idea of telecommuting is massive. I think it's a trend that we saw maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, but there are companies that we know that are 1,000-person employee companies that have no office space. They're only using Zoom. Absolutely.
I think the two companies, those two are my favorite company. One is called Envision, another one called Zapier. Envision has more than 800 employees, probably almost 1,000 employees now. They do not have a single physical office. All of their employees work remotely. Their business is doing very well. They leverage the tools like Zoom. I think if I start over, I also do not want to have any office. So.
No, it's an interesting thing. I know the head of product at Envision. I was asking, how do you manage? What do you do? So it's interesting. He said, we all turn on Zoom at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. and we know when we have meetings. But other than that, people come and go. They can go be wherever they want, and that's their virtual offices. It's working great. And I think the reality is for like the younger generation, that there's no reason for people to sit in traffic for an hour and a half, to go to an office, to do what they could do wherever they want to be. I think it'd be, again, make them happier employees, going back to your happiness culture.
Absolutely. Not to mention the, the cost of living here in Silicon Valley extremely high, right?
Yes.
So, how can you recruit those top talents, right? I think ideally you should look at, talents, from all over the world. You can leverage the modern tools like Zoom. I think that's the direction.
Well, and that's one thing that we should mention again, that you're hiring, but like it's not just here. It used to be mostly here, right? So where are the offices now? How are you going?
We have lots of offices. Like in the U.S., we have Denver, Kansas City, and Santa Barbara as well, and Atlanta. So international, we have Sydney, London, Amsterdam, China, Japan, and also a lot of offices. We should open up an office in Tel Aviv very soon. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That would be terrific. I mean, you'll get great engineers. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think we're going to open up to some questions. If you guys have some questions, this would be a good time to raise your hand and see if I could see. We have some other things we can talk about.
Yeah, feel free if you have any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a microphone. And Eric, just like this is just true to your nature. When we were discussing some of the things we're going to talk about, Eric is like, those are great, Jim, but we'll only just have people ask what they want to know. Like you want to make sure that you're delivering happiness and value to the folks who took the time to be here. So please, anything can go. Eric will answer. Yeah.
Hi. So I know you're a big advocate for life-work balance, and as a CEO of a startup, it's really hard. I think a lot of us experience it. So can you share with us how you're doing it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I also asked about this question many times when I was young. Actually, I tried to talk with a lot of other successful CEOs or entrepreneurs, trying to understand how to balance work and life. I can tell you, nobody gave me a great answer. So finally, I realized as long as I think about a balance, you can never get a good answer. So don't think about a balance. Think about if you really like the work is your life. Life is your work. However, whenever there's a conflict between the work and the life, always family first. I told our employees as well, I never missed my son's basketball game. And however, I never think about balance. I just like my work. I think that's a part of my life. But every day, we never say the kids event or family event. I told our employees, family first. So I think that's the way I look at this. Yeah. Don't think about balance. Otherwise, every day you struggle. Oh, should I do this, do that? So just have a very simple principle: family first, and work is your life. That's it.
And I just want to make a mention when your speech to the folks who were at the IPO, the first thing you did was thank all the families. The family members that you invited, which was unique. I mean, usually family members don't come to these events, right? So you thanked those folks, but also thanked all the employee family members to enable this company to be successful.
Absolutely. I think startup company, start with a long journey, right? You need to get every employee's family member support. That's why we have a kids day, we have a parents day, and to make sure every employee's family member, they are very supportive. Otherwise, work so hard and you're back at home and your wife, your husband, your parents reach, wow, why do you work so late? I think the following day for sure you may not be happy. So
yeah, I'm going to show a slide here that talks a little bit about some of the numbers. These are all approved numbers right up over here. These are all approved numbers that are public. As we're looking for other questions here, what is it that you're most proud of, or what is it that you're focused on here as we're looking at some of these numbers? I mean, they're incredible, impressive numbers.
I think the thing I feel very proud of, not listed here actually.
Okay, well, which one? Yeah.
I think every day if I go to office, I see a lot of very happy faces and see our employees feel happy. I'm very excited. And quite often, if we see anything wrong, some of our employees not happy, I just feel very bad. So I think if our employee happy, I'll be very happy. Look at all those numbers. All those numbers not sustainable, unless your employees are happy. So
yeah, and now we have to come up with a Zoom happiness metric, right? So we'll figure that out.
That's
so
the
yeah,
key.
there's a question right here.
Hi, I'm Daron Cohen from Coversea. So my question is, Zoom is obviously very strong on network effects. Can you share a bit of the early days, like how you guys got into that point, like the early signs, early metrics? What kind of took you to that place?
Yeah. So our first milestone is to get the first paid customer, because after we announced the product, a lot of people told us, oh, there's no way for you to put it off, right? But to get the first paid customer, really, really important. And fortunately, our first paid customer is a Stanford continuing studies group. And they were testing all other solutions, out there in the market. They cannot find any good solution that truly works very well. They tested actually back then this alpha product. And they tested our product. They told us it's pretty good. They wanted to pay for us. And because of that, we realized, wow, if Stanford can become our paid customer, why not we get another one or two colleges? We do not have any sales team. Our founding team, we get 2 more colleges. I think one is a Menlo College, another one forgot. So after we got 3 paid customers, we knew actually, we have a chance. We should, hire a sales team. And then we double down on sales. We get another 3 or 6 and 9 customers, and keeping adding more and more customers, hiring more and more sales rep. I think the number one thing is how to make sure you get the first paid customer. Also, after that, make sure all your paid customer, make sure they are very happy. So that's very, very important milestone. So.
Yeah, you basically started to own the whole education market, right? They all start talking to each other because they see each other at their conferences. They're like, oh, you're not using Zoom? It's so much better. And it just spiraled from there, right?
Yeah, not only that, 4 years later, after they graduate, guess what? They all use Zoom, right? So, yeah, we learned from Facebook. So.
Absolutely. I don't know if there was any other.
Hi.
Oh, okay, great.
Hi, my name is Sanjeet Dang. I am the chairman of UFirst Capital. Besides being a VC firm, we also do a VC speaker series. And we have brought on speakers like Lightspeed founder, Tim Draper is coming October 23rd, etc. But the point is, from day one, we decided that we will do this in person and online over video also. And we have been doing this for almost a year now. The experience, we started off with Google Meet initially, because we were all standardized on Google products. But then the experience became really poor, and we switched to Zoom. So I wanted to mention that to you, that the experience since then has been phenomenal. And because of that shift to Zoom, our online attendees have gone up. In fact, we end up having more online attendees than in the room now. And there are people from Europe, Asia joining these series, even though we do these here in Santa Clara. But the question and the help needed from Zoom as a company is, our vision is to, over time, move this into a fully online-only speaker series, over video only. Do you have a product coming up that is focused only on such conferences being held only over Zoom?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, I owe you a big beer. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I think, for now, our engineer team, product team, we are very, very busy. I don't think we have those features in our product roadmap. Odetta, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? And we do, that's why we introduced the marketplace. We want a third party developers to build those applications upon our platform. However, if we see the more and more demand, we are going to allocate resources, right, to build those apps by ourselves. So let's have offline discussion. And that's a very important use case. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Happy to. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
There's one right over here.
I should bring you some Zoom T-shirt. Whoever have questions, give you a T-shirt. So. Yeah.
Hi, Eric. This is Julian from IT Farm. Now that we are among friends and just among ourselves, can you share with us what keeps you up at night still?
Wow. So every day is different. So seriously, because on the one hand, you feel very excited, to build a startup company. On the other hand, almost every week, every month, quite often, something that will keep you up in the night. When the public, I think we worry about, hey, how about the IPO price? what can we do, make sure our employee happy, even if we became a public company, some security issues, and some employee left, we needed to terminate some employees, and a service outage. Every day is different. And one thing I learned, and that's a nature, of the startup. I asked a lot of other PSUs. I do not think anyone thinks a startup is easy. I think I always did not sleep very well sometimes because of those issues. But again, I feel very happy because I realized if Zoom, if we are facing those kind of challenges, if I cannot sleep well, our competitors also cannot sleep well as well, right? So as long as we can figure out a solution to fix all those issues, I think we are okay. And again, I think from time to time, I think I have so many different challenges. I think that's okay. So.
Yeah.
So, I'm wondering. Oh, I'm wondering from along the way, probably you got some offers to sell the company. So, what made you go for the IPO and not exit early?
Did we got any offer or that before?
Nothing disclosed.
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. So, we had an experience, right? We sold the company, WebEx to Cisco, right? I think, before you start a company, you should really understand why you started this company. If you started a company just for money, I think there's nothing wrong about that, right? Just sold the company whenever you think ready. Our case is very different. I realized, let's put it this way, if you sold the company, what I should do? I have nothing to do after that, right? Seriously. I better, work for Zoom. Every day I have so many, great customers, talk with our employees. Whenever, there's all the, the feature feedback, we can quickly implement those features, make our customer happy. That's very exciting. Otherwise, after you sold the company, the only difference, you have more money in the bank. But money will not bring you happiness. We know that. That's why I say we do not want to sell the company. But I told our employees, quite often employees ask about that question in all hands meeting. The day when our employees, they do not feel happy, let's sell the company. So that's the only scenario. So actually, other than that, I really do not think we needed to sell the company. So,
it's a really interesting question in the sense. I wonder if your experience at WebEx might have also impacted. Like you saw, this company going to a much bigger, different culture. And nothing against Cisco, but just changed it, and you couldn't ever focus on building a great product. I don't think you could have lived with yourself if someone owned Zoom and told you, don't worry about those features, right? Like, don't make the customers happy.
You're right. So essentially, as a founder, you cannot control your destiny anymore, right? And if that's the case, you wanted to leave that, that's okay. But most of the founders still probably wanted to, move forward to try to build a much bigger business, like Google, like Facebook, right? Those great companies. So.
We had another question over here, yeah.
So, Doron from NICE. I wanted to go back to your experience as being acquired by Cisco, and obviously now being public, you're probably looking to acquire other companies. How do you maintain your culture through acquisitions?
It's really hard, I think. You look at Cisco. Cisco is still a great company, especially in early stage. When they try to acquire a company, normally they acquire a company with like a technology relatively small, like less than 200 or 300 employees. Those acquisitions are very, very successful. But when it comes to acquiring a company with a different business model, right? It's different. The culture is really hard. WebEx was software as a service company. Cisco by and large is still a hardware company, and focused on large enterprise. We were WebEx focusing on the SMB. It's totally different. Like how to integrate those two is very, very hard. That's why you look at Zoom. We still I think do not acquire any company yet, because we are very, very careful. If we want to acquire a company, very likely focus on those technology-driven company, like less than 200 employees, easy to integrate. Otherwise, it's a huge distraction. Yeah.
So smaller acquisitions and also being very thoughtful about
technology-driven.
The technology, but also the culture, like looking at their culture. Do they care about their customers? How are they behaving, right?
But if the size is smaller, it's not very hard, right? Yeah.
I saw a hand up over here. Did someone? Oh, okay.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for coming and being so direct with your story. a lot of founders here are from Israel, and they're based there. And you mentioned how important Silicon Valley was to your success. Do you think you could have built this company from anywhere else?
I think I do that in Tel Aviv, no problem at all. So, and because here a little bit lucky because because one thing is really good is very close to VC, right? But nowadays it's different. Right? You can have lots of great VC in Tel Aviv, in India, in China, and also even if a company in other places, you still can get a VC fund from Silicon Valley. I think. I really do not think there's any special things here in the Valley anymore, except for the Silicon Valley culture. So meaning, whenever you need some help, you can quickly find someone, with great experience that can help you here. Just drive like within 1 hour distance, right? You can find anyone with great background to help you. I think that's the culture part. Here in the Silicon Valley, a lot of successful people, they really want to help you. Like when I started the company, I have so many mentors, a lot of advisors, and whenever I seek the help, they all help me. If I live in other places, I'm not sure about that. I think that's probably the only thing I feel like a little bit lucky to live in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I think we have a bias. Most of our investments, we've made 34 investments, probably 30 are based here. And frankly, the ones that aren't start here. And we're okay after they get the Silicon Valley culture, the DNA, connections to the VCs, advisors, and if they want to go back to Israel or Detroit or for various reasons, then maybe it makes sense. But I still think there's a huge advantage to starting companies here, and frankly, even building companies here. Even with all the problems and expense issues and competitive nature of getting engineers, I still think for a while it's going to be the best place in the world to build companies.
But you take Israel, for example. I know so many great friends, right? They have a lot of great startup companies in Tel Aviv, right? I think, I do not think there's any challenge, right? A lot of very successful companies, I think look at the Silicon Valley, same thing, right? Today you have a technology. You try to seek the help. Maybe you do not need to live in Silicon Valley anymore. So.
Yeah. No, and one of our most successful companies had the executive Israeli team here, but built the engineering team in Kfar Saba. So and that has worked really well for us.
Yeah, we have two partners, the Gong and the Chorus. Both of them, they have engineers in Tel Aviv. So I think a very, very successful startup. Yeah.
So I think we have time for a couple more questions. Okay.
Hi, Doron Nir, CEO of Stream Elements. You talked a lot about delivering happiness and Tony Hsieh's motto. I'm really wondering, working on a product like Zoom and having a company of thousands of employees, do you have any metrics of measuring that happiness? Is there an indicator that you're looking at to really know that things are where you want them to be?
That's a great question. Actually, recently, so my son's classmate and classmate's father, he had a business for something else. And he asked about the question, hey, what's the challenge? I told him happiness is our #1 priority. But how to measure that? Today, I still have no idea. I told him, can you build a business to do that? And I think he's working on that. So, yeah. Seriously, I'm not kidding. Yeah. If you can build something like that, I think it would be great.
Great idea.
Yeah.
And maybe it's something in the marketplace, on the App Store.
Absolutely. How to measure happiness is really important. But one thing we did for now, I did tell every Zoom employees, every morning when you wake up, the first question you should ask yourself, do you feel happy or not? If you do, please come to office as soon as possible, right?
And if you don't?
If you don't, you can stay at home. Figure out the root cause. Is that a family related or business related? If business related, you should talk with your managers, talk with your peers, or can send me email. Seriously, if you do not feel happy, there's no need to come to office. We still pay you. This is our company policy, or that can, you can prove that, right? So.
Those the smiley faces in the bathrooms at the airports now. If you're happy with the way maybe you could have those installed all over Zoom, and employees can punch you if they're happy, or the sad face or something.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah.
I think we had another question over here. Yeah.
Hi, Nishikant from CEO These Things. I have a question for you on competition. Who do you see, or where do you see your competition coming from? From known large companies or unknown companies?
I think the true competitor is ourselves. Because if you focus on, other business, the product competitors, you can never win because you try to follow them, right? I think, first of all, you focus on your customer, focus on your own, path, right? Because every business is different. If I focus on the competitors, I do not think I have courage to start a Zoom. Because back in the Cisco, Google, a lot of bigger companies, I focus on the customer, focus on ourselves. I think with that, actually, you really do not need to worry about a competitor, right? A lot of things that will keep you up. If you think about the competitors, right, I think that's not a good thing. So, every day is always think about what you can do differently to really understand the customer's pinpoint. You be the first company to understand the pinpoint and work as hard as you can to come up with a solution before any other competitors. I think you'll be okay. Don't focus on competitors. Especially you enter into a very crowded market. You focus on competitors. Oh my God! You think about Cisco. Wow, this is a great company. They have tens of thousands employees. What can we do? Then you yourself will be scared. So yeah, that's why we never spend time on competitors. So yeah.
We have one more up here.
We have time for one last question. So no pressure, but make it a good one. Is it a good one?
Thank you. Hi, Eric. Adam from Iconic Capital. My question is, before you joined WebEx, did you have a particular interest in communications technology, or was it just kind of a coincidence you ended up in this field and wind up creating the defining company?
Wow, that's a real good question. So, thank you.
Thank you.
When I was 17 years old, I was in China in my hometown college. My girlfriend, she lived in a different city and in a different college. And for me to see her, it would take more than 10 hours, to ride on a train. As a train, the experience is horrible. And, as a no direct train, and more than 10 hours, I can stand sleeping very well because of 6 or 5 people around me. So quite often, I can only see her twice a year. And back then, I thought about, someday, if I can have a device, just one click, I can see her, I can talk with her, that'd be great. It's more like a daydream. And I thought about a lot, actually. And the day when we had the first prototype, when I saw the video, from other office, at that time, I can connect the dots. I thought about this before. I think, that's my answer to your question. So, yeah.
So Eric, you're a great example of Silicon Valley entrepreneurship. We're talented and hardworking founders with a vision worth fighting for and passion to execute it against all odds, and your persistence has been amazing, can bring your dreams to reality and really make the world a better place. I think we'll all agree that, I know for us, Zoom has transformed the way we can operate at Maven Ventures, and I'm sure for many of us in the audience, it's the same. And I'm just so grateful to be even just a small part of the Zoom story. I really love it when the good guys win. So I want to thank Eric for spending the time and sharing your wisdom. If all of us can join in, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
So thank you, Jim, and thank you, Eric. And this concludes our day. I want to thank you all for coming today. We have a great cocktail for you outside with some ice creams because this is a really hot weather. We have another conference tomorrow for cybersecurity that we're excited to host as well. And we have a lot of events throughout the year. So we'll see you at the next ICON event. Thank you for coming.